All right, this is James Pelton, and I am here today with AMA with Fathom Finance. So it's good to see all of you. What was I had a saying that just came to me while we were before this. It's a great day for an AMA, or a great way to start your day is an AMA, or something like that.
Yep.
I'm all about the pithy, catchy sayings. I don't know why. I really love those. So if you're in the audience, it's good to see you. Please hit the like button. Just comment too. Let me know who's here today. Let me know, what are you excited about this week? Are you excited about your 9 to 5? Are you excited about the markets being up a little bit? Are you excited about the price of eggs being super high? Maybe you're a chicken farmer and it's good for you. Let me know what you're excited about. And it's good to see you, Funny Turo. Paul here, Shadow Ninth, Shadow Ninth. Good to see all of you. Appreciate you guys being here. So Bishop and Sir Jay, this is the team from Fathom Finance here. Could you guys start us out by introducing yourself and give a little bit of your background, and then we will dive into the project?
Sure. My name is Bishop. I started off here as got my degree in neuroscience and minor in chemistry. Went on to neuromedical device sales representative for a small Israeli company, and I ended up running the American branch here for about a year, but then COVID hit and all the fun stuff happened with all of that. So I found a lot more time to find a new passion in DeFi. And that's where I met Sir Jay. It was about almost a year and a half ago. So we've been hanging out ever since and building this protocol.
Okay, very cool. I don't have a ton of neuroscientists on the channel, so welcome.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I am Sir Jay. I was dabbling a couple years, like 2 years ago, playing around in the stock market a lot, and heard about Safe Moon, found about, got into it like at the all-time high, and then just started playing around in DeFi and found some little projects that did well, and most of them did not. But then we got heavily involved in another project, and during that, I just started figuring out how everything worked, and I wanted to know why some things moved quicker than others, and basically how everything worked and how to make it better. And then we just started coming up with different ways to succeed using different kinds of tokenomics and management styles, and eventually we created Fathom. And it's been a 15-month journey for us.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to hear kind of about what's going on with Fathom. So there's been some chatter about it around. There's been a little bit of hype, so I'm excited to kind of talk through it a little bit. Whoever's more qualified, Bishop or Sir Jay, can you kind of give an elevator pitch of what Fathom is trying to do? We're going to go and dig into the different parts, kind of one step by step and one by one. But can you kind of just give us like an overall picture of what you're trying to build with Fathom?
You want to go for this one, Sir Jay?
Sure. So basically, we've watched countless numbers of projects launch and fail. And we were trying to figure out how can we stop that? How can we make something that will be sustainable, long-term, and fair to all the investors, using a combination of tokenomics and the way it's managed. And that was kind of the goal, because we wanted, the first one was really, how do we make it fair for everybody? Because normally it's, the first few people who get in do very well, and everybody else who gets in, especially after it's hit that all-time high, they're the ones left holding the bag. And so we set out, how do we fix that? How can we make something better than that? And then, of course, it was all about the long-term sustainability. Everything eventually would hit its peak and just fall off the face of the earth, essentially. And so our biggest goal has been to build a revenue stream that's not based on like a utility that we build that we then have to sell. And initially we were going to look at crypto miners, but then realized that they were not very sustainable long term. So we switched over to proof of stake concepts.
Okay, very cool. Well, yeah, no, I'm excited to talk. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Bishop?
Yeah, so our whole goal is to add stable rewards. So right now, we're trying to change the way staking is done. We've completely revolutionized the way staking is going, and without getting too far into it, it's more about like fair rewards is our ultimate goal too. So we kind of have two ends of this, with the revenue stream and also with the staking end of it, and hopefully we can merge the two together.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and awesome to see all you guys in the comments. Mohammed and History Bear, Frank, Jocko, Paul. Good to see all of you guys. And if you have questions as we're going, please do ask. And I kind of have my questions I want to ask, but then I'll start bringing on some of the audience questions to specify things as we're going. So there's a little bit going on with Fathom. That's one thing I noticed as I was kind of looking through stuff. And so I think what we could help people out with is kind of walking through things. And usually when I'm trying to decide the best way to walk through things is I just go to the website, because this is kind of how you guys have decided that you want to kind of present things. So let's start with the mission, because I think that helps show all the pieces underneath. But can you kind of talk about what you're wanting to, you mentioned it in the elevator pitch, but can you kind of talk about these 4 things and how you're wanting to do things differently than the projects that we've seen fail in the space already?
Sure. So these 4 things are kind of are more of our elevator pitch. If you look at the first one right there, our system is a new system of tokenomics where the selfish actions of individuals benefit the community as a whole, and the individual is justly rewarded for their contributions. So that's kind of along the lines of fair, stable rewards.
Okay, so I kind of like that, and we'll have to talk more about that. But yeah, the selfish actions of individuals. A lot of protocols tell you, no, don't do what's best for you, do what's best for the protocol. But in this, the selfish actions actually benefit, obviously, the individual, but also the community as a whole. So I'm excited to kind of talk about that dynamic. Yeah, can you talk about the stable staking?
So stable staking is, so say that you have 100 Fathom worth $1,000. Once you stake that 100 Fathom, you'll receive a dividend token worth 1,000 mass. And now you're receiving your rewards based on that $1,000 instead of the 100 Fathom. So actually staking the peak is beneficial with our group, our project here.
Okay, gotcha. And then reward. Every 15 minutes, a wave of Fathom from our rewards pool called the Ocean. We're gonna go through each of these parts. So maybe, well, yeah. Do you just want to explain this part real quick?
Yeah. So on that, we watched other systems that are volume based, and eventually the volume dies and the rewards die along. So we wanted something to be much more consistent, and so that's where the Ocean came from. And so yeah, it's going to be half of the tokens in it at launch, and every 15 minutes, a small percentage will be sent out to everybody. And then this is where the other kind of magic occurs, I guess, and something that I haven't seen elsewhere is normally when this whole concept of mass, it exists everywhere. It's just never pointed out because we've changed the way that dividend token works. So, but normally whenever somebody unstakes, all of those dividend tokens are burned. But we decided to further essentially reward those who are still staked with us, and 25% are going to be reflected back to them. So over time, their rewards will increase on its own just because of those reflections of dividend tokens, which again are based on the dollar value at the time of staking. So they actually have a real value to them. So essentially, if you look at mass as the value of your stake, over time, the value of your stake is actually going to increase with you doing nothing just because others are leaving.
Okay, sorry, my cat is attacking me here. Give me one second.
Okay.
The beauty of lives, right? It's authentic. This is not a presentation. And then can you talk about this sustain element? Why do you think? Because what we've seen with a lot of these protocols is they're able to give out rewards for a certain amount of time, but then eventually, the rewards pool runs out, and then now they have to start minting tokens, and then the inflation starts picking up, and then we end up at zero. So what makes you think this will be sustainable when other types of projects like this have not been?
Well, for one thing, we're giving out a percentage of the pool so we can never run out of those tokens, which is great. But we're taking up the taxes up front. From what I've seen, most projects usually would do like a low buy tax, but then a higher sell tax. But they're collecting taxes to support the project. So I started wondering, why are they waiting till people sell out before actually supporting their investment? So we've got a 15% buy tax and then a 25% staking tax. So with that, just with the buy, so anybody who is trading with us, we're going to pull the majority of those taxes up. So, and that will be 75% of that goes to generating revenue. It's going to go right to our Jetstream. The other 25% is going to be, used for marketing and such as well. And so we're taking the money up front, which is something that I haven't seen others actually try to do, because we want this to last forever if we could. And so the whole goal is, as long as we have any kind of revenue coming in, that revenue is going to be used to actually buy back Fathom and refill the rewards pool. So as long as any kind of revenue is coming in, we will be able to stay alive because we'll be constantly doing buy pressure on our own chart. And that's where the whole sustain comes in. Being a tradable token with, one utility to start, because it's already completed. Most of the time what I've seen is these projects launch, they have a promise to, we're going to build this, we're going to have this, their roadmap is set out for like a full, like a half a year or so. And they usually miss those targets. And by the time they're actually completing everything and ready to start selling what they've built to earn revenue, it's kind of too late. They've lost all that hype. Nobody's paying attention anymore. So we're just starting off from the very beginning to build out a revenue stream that's not based on something we have to actually sell in order to generate that revenue. And once we get to the point where we have a large revenue stream coming in, and then the rewards going out, at some point, those two will equal. And that's going to kind of be our very hard floor. And honestly, once this whole system itself proves itself to be successful, we'll be able to create anything. And that's kind of the goal here.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, and we got some great questions coming in from the audience. So, audience, I'm going to have us walk through the project first, then I'll start getting to some of your questions. Well, actually, this one, we kind of touched on this already. So why is the buy tax higher than the sell tax instead of the other way around? So you just kind of touched on this, but again, you're using the tax is what you're going to be using to go out and make revenue, and you kind of want that sooner rather than later. Anything you want to add to that to answer that question?
Because basically, Mohammed, when you buy into our system, we want to be able to collect funds so that we can support your investment and not wait until you actually leave to be able to support the system. So yeah, it's another way of thinking. It's basically a new way that we're doing it. And I don't know why others haven't done this in the past, honestly. Because let's face it, have you ever looked at a protocol and be like, oh, wow, look, 2% buy, 20% sell. I can get in for nothing. But then the 20% sell, either way, it's 22%. I mean, high sell taxes, that was a huge deterrent for me.
Yes. And people put in a few comments in the comments about this, but people put a high sell tax hoping that will incentivize people to not sell. But if you know your sell, just from me being in projects, if you know the sell tax is always going to be that high, then it doesn't incentivize you at all to, because well, if I sell later, it's still going to be that high. So I might as well get out now while I can. So I totally agree. Sell tax, in my opinion, does not tell people, hey, stay in the project. And so, like you said, in some ways, it makes you afraid to get into the project because it's like, oh, am I going to be able to get out? So definitely got you there. All right, let's go back to the website here. So the ecosystem. So there's quite a bit going on here, and there's all weather and water related. Do you want to talk a little bit about the theming? And then I don't know if you have the best way, if you just want to go around this way or the best way to organize it, but you want to talk a little bit about the theming, and then maybe we'll just start with the Whirlpool and work our way around?
Sure. So the theming was Fathom, and Fathom means to come to understanding, or also it could also mean 6 feet of water. So we kind of took the whole theme towards the water end of things, of depth of water, ocean, waves, Jetstream. It's kind of like a whole ecosystem. We tried to actually build a whole ecosystem, circular ecosystem, and the branding came out with it too.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, fathoms of the deep. I've heard that before. Yeah, that makes sense.
How many fathoms deep are you?
Yeah, there you go. Very cool. So let's start with the Whirlpool. So a wallet permanently staked at launch with 5%. You just want to explain this? I guess I could read the website, but maybe we'll get it from your voice.
Yeah, you've again, we started this well over a year ago. So we were watching all these other protocols that would start with some developer tokens that they would use for various reasons, such as marketing or payments for other stuff. But then eventually they would run out. So essentially what the Whirlpool is, it's going to be 5% of the supply that's going to remain staked, and it will actually pull from the reward system. And those that come in from the reward system are what we will be able to then use for such reason as dev tokens, for whatever, influencers or even different contests that we're going to have for our community and stuff like that. And so that was the whole idea behind this, a never-ending supply. And if it gets too much, we're going to send those right back into the ocean where they came from. And so, it's something that we just wanted to have available, and that way it'll never run out, essentially.
Okay, gotcha. Then we talked a little bit about the stable staking already, so maybe we can skip past that one. Do you want to talk about mass, and what is mass?
So mass is kind of where all the magic does actually happen. So first off, every staking protocol has this dividend token. They just don't name it at all. Like even truth seekers, if you look, you see somebody stakes and their tokens go to the staking contract and they receive a token called S-Truth in their wallet. It's just there to track how many rewards that they're supposed to get. In everybody else's system, it's based on number of tokens put in. So there's never been a reason to point this thing out. But because we've taken ours and made it based on value, it becomes very important to our system. Because once you're staked, it really doesn't matter how many Fathom tokens you have staked. Your rewards are based completely on how many mass you have. And so that's why this has become such a huge part of our system. And I know it can seem confusing. It feels like we have multiple tokens, but we haven't added anything. We've just changed the way it works.
Yeah, and given them ocean-related names.
Yes.
Nope,
we don't want to be boring or anything.
Yeah, right. No, I get it. I love theming. I love theming. All right. What is the ocean?
So the ocean is our rewards pool. It is basically, it's going to be 50% of the total supply at launch. And the name of that just kind of came up as a joke one day. We're like, oh yeah, it's a big rewards pool. It's a big body of water. Let's just call it the ocean kind of thing. And that's where that came from. But yeah, so it's just going to hold the rewards. And every 15 minutes to start, it's going to be sending out a small percentage of that, of those tokens to everybody who's staked. And that is, everything in this is adjustable. We can change how often it happens. We can change the percentage of it. And the reason for that is, we don't know if we've gotten the correct numbers here. Plus it's our APY is going to be calculated based on value and not number of tokens. And so that's going to change on its own. And we want the ability to, especially once that APY does drop for whatever reason, because people are going to sell out. We know that. We're expecting that. And so when that APY does drop for everybody, we'll be able to kick it back up.
Okay. Nope. That makes sense. And then what are waves?
So waves are what are the act of actually rewarding people from the ocean. Every 15 minutes, the ocean gives out a wave, which is a small percentage of its holdings. And that goes to the stakers directly as treasure. So waves are just the act of giving a reward from the ocean to the stakers every 15 minutes, currently set to 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. I like that. It's got the ocean that's bringing in the waves every so often. I was just in South Africa at the beach for a few weeks. So
and the beach is the mass.
Okay. I
So
get
it's
it.
like an island. Yeah.
It's all coming together. I love it. I love it. Treasure, the Fathom allocated to stakers as rewards from the ocean. So the waves are bringing in the treasure.
Right. And it's the same thing. It's just rewards. We just call it treasure just to be fun.
It's the unclaimed rewards. Yep.
Unclaimed rewards. Gotcha. Correct.
Okay. So this is a little daunting when you first come, but when you start digging into it, it's really just what we're all used to, just given kind of water names. But no, it makes sense. That's why I'm glad we do these AMAs and kind of help people walk through it. So no, that makes sense. Do you want to talk about the tides? Does that change based on different dynamics, or how do people think about tides?
Yep. So the tides are kind of our seasons of like hype or sustainability. We're able to dial the waves up or down according to what we want. We could have a high tide and be giving out a lot of rewards, trying to attract new people into our system, or we could dial it back and have low tide and be going for more sustainable and trying to become deflationary and such during that time period. So there's two different ways that we can go about it, and it just kind of depends on what is needed for the time.
Okay, and is there like an algorithm you're using to decide when high and when low tide, or is that going to just going to be based on the feeling of the markets, or how does that work?
Feeling of the markets is going to be more kind of like weekly based, monthly based kind of actions. And it's just going to be kind of allowing people to understand what to expect in the coming days.
Okay, gotcha. Nope, that makes sense. And then how about the Jetstream?
I was gonna say, somebody mentioned a tidal wave in our Discord, I think yesterday or something. So yeah, just imagine one huge wave of rewards coming in, like one time. That'll be. We have the room to kind of have fun with it too, and but in some it'll be beneficial for everybody who staked is the whole end of the goal. But yeah, move on to the Jetstream. Sorry.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, yeah. How about the Jetstream?
So the Jetstream, that is what we've called basically what where our revenue stream is. So yeah, the majority of the taxes are going into that system, and that will be put into various proof of stake protocols throughout DeFi, layer one blockchains, using it as validator nodes and such. And so yeah, that's the whole goal of that, is over time that will continue to grow, because we will be just compounding at least 15% of all the revenue that comes in, and the other basically 80% is going to be used to buy back Fathom and refill the ocean. And so that's the long-term sustainable part of our system, which we're focused on now. We're focused on at the very beginning, where most up until the last like 2 months, nobody really seemed to focus on the revenue stream of a project, and it really changed everything hugely. Unfortunately, a lot of those have been BS, but yeah, this has been our focus since we started this back in October of 21. So 15 months ago, we're like, okay, we have to have revenue. If we don't have revenue coming in, we will die just like everybody else. And so that's been the center of the whole thing. The backbone.
Yep, nope, I totally agree. I don't know why it took this space so long, myself included, to start. When I used to do venture capital, and the first question we would always ask someone is, how are you making your money? Like, if we couldn't figure out where the revenue was coming from, that was always first priority. But somehow when we got into crypto, we were like, hey, you don't need to make any money. Like, it'll just go forever without that. So no, that makes sense. And so then I'm assuming weather, maybe rain is what I might call it, but that's what is refilling the ocean. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's going to be basically like an API that whenever we send the revenues to that contract, it'll be set up to use basically a portion of what's in there, the BNB at the start, to buy back Fathom and send it back to the ocean. Because that's another thing that's going to be automated, because trying to do that manually will take a lot of time. And so yeah, that's exactly what it is. And we'll be able to adjust how much of the money we have in there built up to do for the buybacks, plus how frequently. So that's another portion of the whole tide system. We can up the buybacks to generate more hype. And so yeah, we've got these little things built in. A lot of it is to either generate hype or create sustainability, depending on our own market conditions, the overall market itself too. So we're prepared to be able to do that.
Okay, I would throw a suggestion out there that you should rename weather rain, right? Like but I get the idea behind it. It's the same thing.
It's also kind of like evaporation first to go up and then rain down. So it's not
so
just
maybe water cycle. Okay, we can.
It's going to be like our tides. Well, no, it's going to be like our tides. There's going to be seasons. There could be a stormy season. There could be a calm season. It just depends on how big the buybacks are during those times and how aggressively we're pursuing them.
Yeah. Nope. Okay. That makes sense. I see where you're going. All right. So you did put some thought into it. Okay. I got you.
Photosynthesis, Paul. No, that's not even the right topic.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do photosynthesis, Paul is saying. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do with the theming. So here's a good question. So we talked about all those things, and that makes sense to me now. Again, it was overwhelming when I first came, but it makes pretty good sense. It's just themed and kind of named a little bit differently. Can you talk about the revenue streams? What are you guys planning to do? What kind of return do you expect to make? Do you expect the revenue that you're making to be able to keep up with, the percentage that you're paying out, or do you think that will happen in the future? Can you just kind of talk us through the revenue a little bit?
Yeah. So we're not even looking at like taxes as part of our revenue stream. That's the taxes are going to build the revenue stream. Up until the last 2 days, we weren't even sure of what we were going to have to work with regarding capital, because the plan has always been to take 50%, around 50% of what we raise in this pre-sale to actually start the Jetstream. Because again, that's been our main focus is to focus on that, because that is the long-term sustainability of our system. But there are several different chains we're already looking on. Actually, we were just discussing getting one set up on Fusion. I guess, what was it, last night or something, Bishop? But
Yep.
So yeah, but the thing is about us is everything that we do, we don't just jump into it. It comes with a stupid amount of research, essentially, because we know it's important to try to make the best decisions that we can, because if we screw up, then it's going to mess everybody else up. So it's all about researching and checking the market and basically, diving as deep as we can into all these systems just to make sure that we're making the best decision that we possibly can for everybody else. And we're not going to just go about everything on our own. We will be taking suggestions, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we probably don't even know about. We were looking at other protocols, but unfortunately they're just not surviving, and so it's come to the point where, we were kind of expecting to have a decent amount up and running right away, but these protocols are just not panning out. Some of them are just not truthful at all. They're not even real. And unfortunately, so we have to be very careful, and we know that.
Okay. Nope. That makes total sense. So we'll dig into that a little bit more, because we do have a lot of questions from the audience. But before we get to that, I do want to show the dApp, because we have that, and maybe you can just walk us through a little bit what's going on in the dApp. Yeah, maybe just walk us through what you think are some key points here, and then we'll start getting to some audience questions.
Yeah, so up top here is going to be kind of what you're going to be looking for as an investor to begin with. So this is currently live on testnet. Not all of the values are correct because it is on testnet, but the holdings will be what's in your wallet. Stake is the amount of tokens staked. So then mass is going to be the really important part for you as a staker, because that's going to actually show you what the value of your stake is. And then we do have also mass reflections. So how many of those reflections you've received over time from other people leaving, which is going to be kind of fun to watch, especially at some point. Your reflections might equal the mass that you brought in, which would mean that the value has doubled for you. So yeah, then there's treasure right there. And we tried to really pull out every bit of information that anybody would want, just based on watching other protocols and launch something, and then there's a gazillion questions. So we tried to include everything. I'm sure we've missed something, but we'll just add it then. But yeah, so the next wave, that's what you're expecting to get the next time a wave is sent out. And so then again, the current daily ROI, that's again going to be based on value, right? So this is actually going to tell you two different things. Your percentage, basically, if you based it on tokens, that'll be the Fathom portion, and then based on mass will be the value portion. And what'll be really interesting is when the value of your tokens are a lot less than how many mass you have, because then your Fathom percentage is going to be much lower than your value percentage. And that was why this whole thing was built. Because I was asking some people, hey, do you have a position that's staked currently in another protocol how much did you put in and what's the current value? Because if they're, making 1% on tokens, well, now it's going to be based on their current value, which if it's down 95%, now they're making, 5% of what they did when they first bought in. And that's what mass fixes. You'll still make based on what you bought in, not what the current value is.
Okay, and no projects in mind in particular when you talked about the 1% a day down 95%, right? Nothing in particular.
Not that I'm going to state.
Okay, no, that's fair. So is this number dynamic, or is it going to be set, or what does this number come from?
So that, again, that's going to be constantly calculating it, all right? Because the price of Fathom is going to actually change that. The number of mass that are existing is going to change that value. So that value will not stay constant. It will be constantly moving up and down slightly, or a lot, depending on what happens in the price and the price action and the volume going on. But the cool part is, and I did this test on purpose just to see, because I had done a lot of stuff through spreadsheets and it worked out, but I wanted to see it live. So I actually took and I unstaked a whole lot and purposefully dropped the price by half and during this whole test thing here. And the actual daily ROI only dropped like 35% because of the mass reflections, where I was expecting it to be closer to 50%. So it's even with a 50% drop in price, as long as other people are unstaking and selling, that ROI doesn't drop nearly as fast as it normally would if it was just based on tokens. And that was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, cool. Nope, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, got a lot of good info. Like you said, you tried to put as much on here as you can. I'm sure that the people will still have questions about this and that and the other thing. But a lot of data here. Are these separate pages? Or they just scroll you to you'll have to forgive my.
Yeah, but now if you go down to stable stake, and that's the whole staking
pages.
portion. There's your treasure chest.
Okay, very cool. Well done. Who's the developer? Is it a team or one of you guys, or?
So we do have a full team behind us, and they've been working with us since about August, I think.
Okay.
Or April even.
No, these guys were with August. Actually, if you scroll all the way down, it says that who they are. They're called Perfectus. They are a complete development company, and they don't normally work with DeFi projects. So we kind of got very lucky to get them.
I was going to say, I can tell that you've been working on this for a while. This is not I'm messing around with some Solidity and things for my current project that I'm doing. And this is not something that you build overnight. So there's a lot here and a lot of good info. So
go to buy Fathom.
Okay.
So we've made it very easy also to get in. We've got it's set up right here on our site. You could use either BNB or BUSD. Just keep in mind, if you use BUSD, you have to approve the transaction first because it is a separate token. But so we've got the ability to either just buy here or the buy and stake. And so the buy and stake is actually really important. It was very important for us for it to be there, because what that does is instead of buying, taking the 15% tax and then staking 85% of the value, the buy and stake is going to capture the entire value of your investment. So if you bought and then staked $1,000, you'd get 850 mass. Using the buy and stake, it's going to happen in one transaction, so you'll actually get the 1,000 mass for the $1,000 that you put in. And so we made sure that got put in there because this way you can get rewarded on your entire investment.
Okay, got it. Nope, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and I said I was going to get to audience questions, but before that, let's talk about the pre-sale, okay? Just to make sure I don't forget, because that is important, right? But can you talk about how long has the pre-sale been going? What are the benefits of getting in pre-sale instead of waiting? You connect and you can use BUSD to get in, but just give us some info on the pre-sale here.
Yeah, so the pre-sale has been going since the 20th, and it's going to run for 5 days. So it'll be ending on the 25th at 8 p.m. UTC time. It is a fair sale, so there's no hard cap right now. You can go in and just contribute as much as you like. There's no hard cap. And that's because we're doing a fair sale style pre-sale where you can look at the price right now and see what the actual current launch price is going to be. So the more people that actually join, the more we're able to adjust this and make it so it's a fair launch for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the fair launch pre-sales. I know PinkCell has one. There's a few others. Basically, they pick a number of tokens for the pre-sale and a number for liquidity, and that doesn't ever change. And so the price, can increase quite a bit. And so we basically had set our soft cap about 300K, and so started with 150 million tokens in there. But as the plan has been all along is to, as more people join, as we raise more funds, to actually increase the number of tokens that are sold in this. So what it does is it slows the price appreciation for everybody in the pre-sale. Because it was actually at like 30,035, and then we updated it. We added 20 million tokens to it, and it dropped it down to 0030 again. And it's kind of becomes a hybrid of the way that other pre-sale is done and how the automated market maker works. Because originally I was like, well, we'll just use the AMM formula, but that was going to be we would be at like $2 right now or something. So that was way too extreme. So we kind of took the idea of the two of them and mashed them together. So yeah, even our pre-sale is a new way of doing things.
Okay. Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about the DeFi space is there's just constant experiments of, hey, we're going to try this. We're going to try to make this a little bit better. We've seen what's failed, what's worked before. Let's, try to make things better. So I'll leave a link to the pre-sale there. And then I also want to leave a link to Discord. If you guys have like more questions or you're having troubles, sometimes people message me. They're like, oh, I couldn't approve. Don't message me about that. You'll be much better off hopping in the Discord. I know just about as much about it as you do. So hop in the Discord and ask those questions. But yeah, let's get to some audience questions here. We actually have a whole bunch. When are we scheduled to go live? So I see the pre-sale ends on the 25th. Are you planning on going live soon after that, or what's the date for that?
We plan on going live soon afterwards. The date isn't exactly set yet, but we're planning on going early next week. So maybe around. Sergey, do we have a time frame?
That's interesting. We were talking about that last night in our back channel. So we were looking at going live on the 30th, but I still have a full-time job and stuff. And I've actually got like this big work meeting on the 31st and the 1st. And so I was like, shoot, if we go live on the 30th and then suddenly I'm stuck in meetings for 2 full days, is that going to affect the perception from everybody? And so we'd like to go live on the 30th, but now we're discussing if we should just wait till afterwards, or apparently launching on Sundays aren't so good. So at some point next week, we'll go live. We'll probably ask the community what they think. If me being kind of absent the day after launch and the next day is going to cause issues or not, but it shouldn't. Okay. But this is DeFi, so it probably will. And yes, we want to avoid that. So, but that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, nope, that makes sense. And so, yeah, hop in the Discord. So it's estimated the 30th or around there, but hop in the Discord again and watch the announcements. Things change, don't in a week, there's going to be new info that we don't have right now. So keep an eye on the Discord. I always recommend if you're wanting to follow a project, hop in the Discord and get announcements from there. And this is a good question. We asked this about almost all projects, but what happens if new people do not come into the ecosystem? Again, we may or may not be getting out of the bear market here. I'm skeptical. I think we're still probably in the bear market for a while. But what happens to this protocol if new people don't come in?
Well, we'll have our revenue stream, and that's where it just supports us all. So our Jetstream will just be continuing to grow and grow. And even if new people don't come in, we'll be compounding our Jetstream so that we don't need the new people to come in, and it'll still be growing.
Okay. We're expecting that, and so we're planning for that, and that's part of our design is people will stop buying in. So that's where we'll have this revenue stream, and it'll grow on its own.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love people to see new investors as the icing on the cake rather than the cake itself. Because again, right. you have no control over that. So it's better. Okay, we'll plan for the worst. And then if we do get a lot of hype, we get a lot of new people in, then that's kind of some icing on the cake. to do more than what we thought was possible. So like that. How will OPTX factor into all of this? Is OPTX part of what you're doing? I have no idea where this question is coming from, but maybe you guys do.
Yes, they said that they were going to make an institutional investment into our pre-sale. So they'll be making some type of large investment into our pre-sale to help support their own token and also help us out at the same time. If they've done it yet, not quite sure, but it's definitely in the works and said that it was going to happen.
And we don't know when or how much. We
Right.
just know it's supposed to happen.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. See, that's why I bring up audience questions, because I was like, I don't know anything about that, but the audience knows. The audience knows.
No, and that's helpful. That gives us their point of view, and that's important.
Yep. Absolutely. Can you talk about where liquidity comes from? So again, I assume some of the tokens from the pre-sale are going to go to liquidity. Are you planning on bolstering liquidity over time, or what adds to liquidity?
Yeah. So the liquidity thing. So of course, a chunk of what we raise in the pre-sale is going for the initial liquidity. However, because the way our launch is going to work, where every single token that is owned from pre-sales and even anything from development, everything is going to be staked at launch, and it's going to follow our 8-day vesting schedule, which the first 2 days is locked. So for 2 full days, our launch is going to look like a fair launch, no matter how much money we raise, because nobody can unstake and sell their tokens. And so we're only actually going to use a small portion of what we've raised for liquidity in the liquidity pool at launch. So this actually creates a more volatile launch, which is what traders are looking for, because we want everybody to come in and buy and sell our token, because we're still going to collect taxes to build our revenue stream. So what'll basically happen then, because at the end of that 8-day vesting schedule, everybody can unstake without penalty. And so we're expecting that to happen and a bunch of people to sell. So we'll have a bunch of basically backup liquidity that we can recover to whatever floor we decide to do. But based on the calculations I've done, if we chose launch price as our floor, we'll be able to recover to that floor from 50% down 13 different times by keeping the backup liquidity. And this basically came from watching all these other systems that launch, especially with pre-sales. And when they drop below the pre-sale price, a lot of people are like, hey, devs, can you do something? And usually they can't. So we're like, well, this is going to happen to us, so let's be prepared for it.
Okay. And actually, while we're talking about other protocols, something that's been happening frequently, more frequently than we'd like in the space, is developers running away, projects running away, taking all the liquidity, stealing the funds, rug pull, whether it be a fast rug pull or a slow rug pull, whatever the case might be. What would you say to investors who are, they've just been burned in DeFi and they're just kind of tired of the space, and they said, oh no, this is probably going to rug pull at some point too? What would you say to them, and what are some, dynamics and elements that you have in place to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, first of all, we're KYC'd already. So we're KYC'd with the True Seekers, and we'll be on their Wallet Watcher program. So there's no way we're rug pulling anyone. I mean, our information will be released to authorities and everything else. We are based out here in America, so we're KYC'd, and also we will be using a multi-sig wallet for the liquidity, Whirlpool, and a few other things, and that will be between the three of us, me, Sir Jay, myself, and also a third one as well. So we'll have 3 people on our Wallet Watchers.
And no, I know, and it's been crappy the last 2 months. It's especially the last 2 weeks, and I'm with everybody. It's what these guys are doing is absolutely horrible. And we've been doing this for a long time to get this ready to go, and we have no desire to take your money. We're not even taking much for ourselves. We want this to be.
We haven't taken anything for ourselves yet.
No, at this point, we haven't taken anything. But we're like, well, do we take a few $100s a week, or we haven't even come to our own conclusion. But it's not going to be an outrageous salary, because that will hurt the overall protocol. And I mean, we built this because of all the crap going on, because all of the scams. But it wasn't even just the scams. It was these systems that were set up that were not built to survive. It was somebody had some crazy idea and they're like, oh, this will generate hype. And so then they put it out there. And of course, a lot of it failed. And so we're like, all right, how do we prevent all that? And that's what this is based on. And it's been a very long time coming. And I mean, we've already, before this pre-sale, we had a seed sale because we had to get all this stuff built. And it has not been very cheap. We've already raised about $100,000, and almost all of that went into creating the 6 smart contracts, the API that exists, plus website, the dApp, all of that stuff has cost us money. And I'd say if we were looking to be scammers, we're probably the worst ones out there. We could have tried to scam people 10 different times at this point. But this conversation came up talking about another developer, how he's a known dev, even though what he's created necessarily hasn't been that beneficial for all the investors. And that's kind of the crazy part is, had we launched several tokens or projects in the last 15 months, as long as we didn't, take the money out, we would be considered legit devs. But because we've spent all this time building this one system based off of others' failures, it's questionable whether or not we're legit or not. It's such a weird space.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a very weird space, the Wild West. And I think you guys would agree that even with KYC, one thing that makes me hesitant is people think, oh, KYC, nothing can possibly go wrong with the project. But I think you guys would agree the same principles that are in all of DeFi apply, which is don't risk more than you can afford to lose. It's a risky space. No one here is saying, even when we say, stable staking and things like that, we're not saying, oh yeah, put your social security money in here and it'll be great. Only risk what you can afford to lose, and don't compound for too long. Like, get out your initial, because it's just a risky space in general. I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to that.
Well, one other thing about just the security of everything, and we're doxxed already. So we came on here, we showed our faces, we're talking with people, and that's because of what's been going on. So we really want people to have that comfort of mind, and we're willing to go the extra miles to do that for our investors. So yeah, thank you guys so much for helping us on this pre-sale so far. It's been absolutely amazing.
Okay, very good. Well, yeah, let's try to get through as many of these questions as we can, because my audience often always has better questions than I do. So let's go ahead and bring some of those up. Is there an ideal compound strategy? Do you want to talk about how compounding versus claiming, or is it more game theory, or what's the strategy there?
There is a lot of game theory in this, but so first off, compounding does reset that 8-day vesting schedule called the ripples, just so everyone knows. So my compounding strategy will be, actually, we made it so that there's 0% transfer tax. So you can claim your tokens in your main wallet, transfer to another wallet, and stake there. So you're essentially compounding without resetting the ripples in your main wallet. And the main reason for that, because we're value-based, there's other game theories that go in here. Because if your tokens are suddenly worth 5 times as much as your mass is, you can unstake your tokens and restake them, and now you'll have that 5 times more mass. And so now you just basically permanently increased your rewards by 5x. And we do have that 25% staking tax. Again, so if you're doing that, more mass is being created, so that's increased our liabilities. So we need to bring more funds in to grow our revenue stream to further support that. So I don't know if there's a true compounding strategy here. There's so many different things that can be done just because we've made everything value-based.
Okay, gotcha. And then, do your investors have a say in the decision of projects that you go buy, or staking in, or validator nodes, or whatever you do? Is that going to be kind of decided by you guys, or investors part of that, or how does that work?
We're going to be listening to the investors. So like you said, a lot of times the community has the best ideas, and we're going to be here to listen to them, but we've also put a lot of research into it. So we have a very good understanding of where we're at and probably the ones we should go to first. It's going to be a balance between the two. We'll definitely be running this like a semi-DAO almost, where investors will be able to give their feedback and vote and give their opinions, but we'll definitely probably have the ultimate control, ultimate say.
Yeah, no, and in some ways I like that because I've never been a huge fan of putting, like, most people are really bad at DeFi. And so I've never been a huge fan of like, oh, let's all just vote on the best places to put money. Because honestly, most people, we end up losing, so it's better. I like that, the semi DAO, where it's like, we'll take feedback, but then ultimately, we have a strategy that we're going to put into place. So it makes sense. Can you give some examples of where you might be staking and validators and those types of things, and the projected ROI in some of those different areas that you've been looking at?
Sure. So currently with what we'll be looking at is the bots will probably have the highest return, but that's risk capital. So we're not going to be putting everything into the bots. And what we'll majority be putting into is the validators. And some examples of anticipated ROI are about 20 to 25% is the upper end of validator nodes. However, validators operate in a different way where it's not like we'll be getting 25% for the rest of our lives. We will, but it operates a lot like normal staking, where once that coin 10x's, we'll now be getting 200% back. So while we're able to scrape the floor right now and get a whole bunch of good validator nodes now, when the market returns to the bull market, we'll be having much higher returns. So it's a long-term play. But
of course, the reverse can happen. We can get in, and of course, it could lose 90% of its value. But we're not looking to buy just one validator node. We're looking across to get in as many as we can.
Right, but even if it drops 90%, we're still getting some value out of it. We're still getting some buybacks, and it's still functional for us.
Yep, that makes sense. And a lot of times, yeah, when you're doing a validator node, like if you're doing an Ethereum validator node, the real value is not going to be in the, the APY that you get. You don't get a very high APY for an Ethereum validator node. But like you said, hopefully the next bull market, if Ethereum 2x's, 3x's, or whatever the case, that is where a lot of the value is going to come. So, nope, I like that. Diversifying out, like that. Let's see. Yeah, question. Have you done or been involved in other projects? And if yes, how have they performed? Is this your guys' first project? You've been working on it for quite a while, correct?
Yeah. So we met as moderators in another project. We had nothing to do with any of the decision making. But no, this is the first thing we've built, and we've taken our time. We've essentially followed I'd see something launch and then not do very well, and I'd look in and look and see what happened, what was going on in their transactions, what kind of tokenomics did they actually have going on, and then what did the team actually do. And a big part of it was how they responded to the community, and we've paid very, very close attention to that, because that is a huge part of how well a project does, is what the team actually does. And so, yeah, instead of just trying to create something and launch it and then go, oh, well, let's try again, we're like, all right, let's get this right the first time. And this is what we've seen not work, so let's do this instead. And this we have seen work, so let's add this into our system.
Okay. And Mark says, first time hearing of bots. Could you please ask what bots they're looking at, as that may give us some confidence? And that is an area that my community knows pretty well. We're involved in a lot of bot projects, even my own bots. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing with those?
So currently, right now, we have a proprietary bot that we're able to acquire from our network. It's a market maker bot, and it'll be performing on centralized exchanges. There is another bot that I hear that we'll be having access to, but our biggest concern right now is getting a bot tech that's able to run everything, keep things moving smoothly for us. So now that we have the capital, we're looking at those people now, and we'll be having a lot more information for people soon.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I look forward to hearing about. Maybe we can do some synergy together on that.
We love it. We love networking, so that sounds like a great idea, sir.
Let's do it. We can talk offline about that. We don't have to negotiate on a live AMA. We'll talk through some of that. Let's see. Do you have any projections regarding the number of investors or the amount of investments in the first year or two? And again, not looking for exact numbers. This will be really hard to tell, but when you're doing your calculations, what are you guys kind of projecting? And again, we're not going to hold you to the projections, but just what are you guys thinking?
It's hard to say because, this is a whole brand new system. It changes the way things are done, changes how staking is done and how, essentially staking is looked at and calculated. I mean, we could flop because nobody understands it, or we could go absolutely crazy like some of these other first movers. I don't even know really what to expect or have a projection. I figure we'll probably be maybe somewhere in the middle of the two. Not like Safe Moon, but also not like some of these other ones that have launched and flopped with some kind of new idea. But I think we do have the capability to surpass everyone else. And the one thing I've kind of brought up before is, when you look at what makes a project successful, right? A lot of times it's based on, well, they hit this much market cap or they got to this price from here, but those generally, a lot of people lost money. And that's kind of what we're trying to change is I want Fathom to be successful because a huge number of the investors, if not all of them, made money in our system. Because that's the goal. And that's kind of what I would like. I would love to see the shift of what is a successful project based on is how many people actually profited from it and didn't lose their funds. And I mean, for us, I want to be the most successful one in that way, that everybody can come in and make money off of this, because that's the whole point of this, right? That's the whole point of DeFi. And most of the time, a lot of people lose, and we don't like that, and we're trying to change that.
Okay.
So,
and I actually really like that number, or I kind of really like that answer where you're not anticipating this huge hyper growth, but you're not anticipating no one. I mean, that would be kind of sad if that's how it turned out.
Right.
So, but if that happens, if nobody comes in, hey, we will be okay. It'll be slower growth. If you get really hyped, that'd be great, but it should still be sustainable. So I like the direction that you're going with that.
I guess what I anticipate happening is we'll have some people come in and then we will see like a major drop in price. But then once everyone realizes that our system is working like we're saying it works, and that even though with that price drop, people that are in there are still actually making money based on what they came in with, then I think we'll start to see a huge amount of growth there. That's kind of what I'm anticipating. I could be wrong. Who knows? But
yeah, no one knows. No one knows the future.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I mean, maybe I'll help answer this one. This sounds like the same concept business model that YieldNodes was doing, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but difference is YieldNodes was kind of they were staking and noting their own projects, and they were doing very degen, very alt projects, and I assume you guys are focusing more on blue chip type things like Ethereum and AVAX and things along those lines. Anything that you want to add to that, or would you say that's kind of the main difference?
Yeah, we're definitely looking into the blue chip long term. So it was originally we were looking into more of the degen things, but as we've seen this last couple of months, you can't really trust anything. So it's going to have to be around for a few months before we're going to even touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yep. No, I think that's wise. I think the days of in DeFi are over of the short, fast returns. Like we're just finding out that this is not worth the risk. Yeah, you might get your, 10% a day for a few days, but then you're going to lose all your money. So I totally agree. So that's the main thing that would set it apart from YieldNodes. YieldNodes was not master noding Ethereum and AVAX and things like that. They were doing Sapphire and Diamond Dash and things with, a $600,000 market cap and things like that. So that would be the main difference. AJ would like to know, do you think the protocol is too complex to understand for newcomers? Anything being done to make it easier for folks to understand the moving parts other than AMAs with James Felton?
It is very, very complex system, but we've had so many people in our community now that it's clicked for them, and it's really, really, made a large difference hearing their feedback and everything about how they thought about it. And I would say that no, once you invest a little bit of time and you come in our community and ask a few questions, you'll have those questions answered pretty rapidly. That it clicks. It clicks for people quicker than they think. But yes, this is complicated. It's not so much complicated as it's new. It's a new way of thinking about things. And once you're able to wrap your head around it, just think that little bit differently, you know, look left instead of right, then you'll be good.
I mean, it's essentially, like I said, it's we've changed the way things are calculated, and we've created our own distribution system that's consistent, that we're not rebasing, we're not increasing our supply. And all the rest of that is part of that. And that's basically the basis of it.
Okay. Yeah. And it's actually, I thought it was pretty, I was a little overwhelmed the first time I went to the website. But yeah, your little UI thing here was not working. So it was just a list. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of stuff. This helps. And then it helps too to know that each of these things pretty much exists in all other projects. They just have a different name. So I don't know if there's a way for you to like kind of just easily with one look, people can see, oh, well, this just means this. Weather is just the way that revenue is just revenue or something like that. There's like an easy way to get that across to people. But yeah, really not too bad once you kind of just realize that these things exist in other projects. You just kind of themed them a little bit better.
There's also our Fathom Academy. If you go on our YouTube, we have some videos on there that people can watch. They're very short, straight to the point, and they kind of go over all that stuff as well.
Yeah, Matt Bills made those for us.
All right, very good. Adoran says, I'm receiving comments from members watching stating their questions are vanishing from chat. Well, maybe just re-ask. I don't really hide any questions or anything. I can't multitask that much. I'm busy enough just looking through the questions. So just have them re-ask. Maybe you can give an example of a question that you're trying to get answered. But we want to get as many questions, even hard questions. We want to get those out here and now is the time. So we'll probably go through a few more here and then we'll wrap up. I just realized we're over an hour. Time flies when you're having fun. This hasn't seemed that long to me. So let's see. What is the marketing roadmap? And can they talk more about marketing, as it's very important, especially in these times?
Yeah, so we're partnered with Truth Seekers, and so essentially they're going to be, pushing a marketing campaign with us for a very long time here, for at least several months. Plus, we have RBX Samurai, we've been partnered with them for almost a year now, and they're kind of the guerrilla type marketing, where they've got a whole bunch of shillers out there pushing us throughout different social medias. And the guy who's been working with us directly, he's constantly finding all of these groups that are large groups like around the world. And we're just constantly setting up different AMAs and stuff from everywhere else. And those haven't even kicked in yet. So yeah, marketing is just never going to stop, essentially.
Yeah, gotcha. And then maybe we'll close with this question, unless anybody else has some really pressing ones that I think are just so good. But sounds like you have jobs. You're not taking a fee. What's going to maintain your long-term excitement and interest with the project? What's your personal time horizon to keep the project going?
So we have not taken any kind of fee at this point. But we do plan on pulling a small salary out once we're launched. So that will keep us. My plan is to be able to leave my job and just work on this full time, because this is the start of our ecosystem. This is the start of what we're doing. We have a lot more plans in place. We just haven't put them on a roadmap at this point, because we want the focus to be on what we've already created, not what we're planning to create. And so, yeah, this is for Bishop and I, this is the future of us for the next 20 years. That's our plan at this point.
Okay.
Anything else, Dad?
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that answered it pretty well. We're looking at this as long term, and we're here for as long as people still believe in us. So, which is probably going to be quite some time, because we're not going to let anyone down.
This is a business, and as long as our business is profitable through our Jetstream, then we will continue operating and people will get rewards.
Okay. Is there truth to this rumor that you have a Fathom tattoo? Or is that just gossip?
Well, that just became gossip, I think. Paul also believes, I guess, photosynthesis has to do with the weather.
Yeah, that's
Not
true.
just
That's true. He's
sun.
got some misinformation
With the sun
being
there.
spread around.
Well,
So-
Paul Dutton, let me tell you a little something about my conversation. No, I'm just kidding. Because he was asking me questions to make sure we got, when he made his video, to make sure it was correct. I did have to correct some of his layouts that he has in his video because they were not correct. So I think I actually taught him a little bit how these smart contracts work, and everything has to buy the token first, and then it can do its magic.
Then it can do its magic. Yeah, no, it's good. Good of you to set Paul straight. I mean, we all appreciate that. So
I don't have the tattoo yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
it'll be
not
coming
yet.
though. Here, I'll say it here: 100 million market cap, you will get a Fathom tattoo. So I'll put that out there, and we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, once I get, if that happens, once I get it, you have to bring me back on here so I can show it off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it depends where you put it, but yeah, for sure, we'd love to do that.
It won't grow. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So first off, audience, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you day after day. You come for the AMAs, and I appreciate you guys. Again, the reason that there's nothing about me that projects like, oh, we'd love to talk with James Pelton. He's, that'd be great. But they love my community. It's really you guys that make this happen. So I thank you guys so much. Please hit like on your way out. If I didn't get to your questions, the recording will be available right when we're done. I'll put chapters in so you can skip around. If there are questions that you want to dig deeper into, hop in the Discord. I'm going to call that the first call to action is hop in the Discord. It's free. There's no reason not to do it. There's nothing that you're giving up to do that. I'll also post a link to Twitter. Go follow Fathom Finance on Twitter. And then if you like this project, keep looking it over. Make sure you're comfortable. Don't just watch an AMA and then say, oh, James Pelton did an AMA, I'm going to put money in. That is don't look at the thumbnail of this video and say, I'm putting money in. James looks a little bit happy in the thumbnail. Do your own research. Figure out what's going on. If you like the team, if you like what they're doing, if you like the community, then decide if you're going to get in. And the best way to get in is going to be if you just go to the website here, fathom.finance, join the pre-sale now. It's presale.fathom.finance. It's BUSD that you're putting in there. The pre-sale is going to go until the 25th. So you have a couple days to get in before then. But again, there's no rush. If you want to wait, maybe you've been burned. Oh, I'm tired of projects failing on launch. Give it some time. Get to know the team and say, you know what? I want the project to run. They mentioned that they wait for projects to run for a few months before they put money into the validator nodes. Maybe that's your strategy because that's a smart way of doing it sometimes. So again, there's just, risk reward ratio. But those are the three things that you can do. Hop in Discord, follow on Twitter, and get ready for the pre-sale. So, and Bishop, Sergey, thank you guys for hopping on. I know this was kind of last minute. We kind of planned this, but thank you guys for coming on. Bishop, did you have some final motivational words for us?
No, I was just waving goodbye and
waving.
saying thank you so much for having us. It's really, really great to be here. Yeah, it looked like I raised my hand.
Yeah, I know.
But
Sometimes I monologue and people put their hands up. It's like, hey, James, stop monologuing because we have something to say. But yeah.
Well, we're so used to waving goodbye with our avatars, So.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing, actually.
Yeah, it's funny when you start meeting people that you met on Discord and stuff in person, and you're not sure what to call them. Like, oh, hey, chicken chaser, and it's like, no, my name is Jason, things like that. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for walking through this. I know AMAs can get old because it's the same questions over and over again, but appreciate you and love to have you back as we are move forward in your project.
Thanks so much, James.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.